Hey buddy, I hope you're doing well. So who don't want to create their program future ready? What future ready means? That means in the future when client change a requirement, you have to do minimal changes in your code or near to no code change. So how we can do that? Microsoft has given several things. One of the things that we are going to talk today, that is called Csharp params. Params are gonna help us to not to worry about how many arguments you need to pass in your method. So that solves the issue. That is the power of Microsoft has given to us. So we are going to explore Csharp params today, how we have to deal with it, how we have to implement it, and what are the different things that you need to take care while working with params. So let's go ahead and start working with params. This is our console application that we're going to use today to show the demonstration. So what we will do, we will create first private method to show you how we can convert that method from multiple parameters into one single parameter. So let's go ahead and create one private method and say integer. Let's say, it will do what? It will add numbers, right? So let's say add numbers, and we can say, hey, do what? Accept maybe 4 parameters, say integer A, integer B, integer C, and integer D, right? So these are the 4 parameters that this method needs to add and return the result. So what it will do, it will say, hey, return A plus B plus C plus D. Perfect? Yep. I think it should be happy. Yes, it is happy. But this is static method, so we have to declare here static as well, otherwise it will throw error. Oh, it is not yet happy because we have missed that plus. See, this is something we missed. Yep, now it is happy. So let's call this method here, and we will pass what? 4 different parameters. I'm going to choose any random number. Let's say 10, 6, 10, 5, and yep, only 4 parameters, right? So it will give me the result. And what I will do, I will check the response under one variable which is response, and I will just print this, right? So let's say console.writeLine and print this. Now let's check the output first. So it is running and the value is 31, right? Because this is the sum of these 4 different numbers. Perfect. Now the requirement is you have to add one additional number. Let's say 2 additional number. What you will do? You will come here, right? You have to make a code change now. You will go to your code. You will say integer E, this E, and integer F, right? And then you have to add more logics here. You have to say, hey, plus E, plus and F, right? So see, you have to change everywhere, wherever your logic is. You have to make this happy as well. Now you have to pass 2 more arguments. But what we are going to do, instead of doing this thing, so what we will do, I will say, hey, I don't need you. Why? Because I have something called params. So what I will do, I will just copy paste. So let's keep this code here for now and comment this. So we are going to use it later, and keep the same name. Instead of these many parameters, what we will do, we will say, let's say something powerful things of Microsoft params, right? And make it array. So now what you will do, we don't need to put all these variables explicitly, that add thing. What we will do, we will remove everything and we will do for loop on this params array. So let's say where item in what? This A, instead of give some meaningful name, and we will say, hey, this is my numbers, right? Yep, these are my numbers, and then make a loop on this number. And let's go ahead, and what we will do, we will say, hey, let's declare one total variable. So let's say total, this should be the total of past numbers. So let's say 0, this is the initial value. And what we will do, hey, I will say total and plus equal to whatever the number is. So what I'm doing, I'm adding every item into the total and I will return finally that total result. Say return, okay, and return what? Total, right? Okay, so this is good now. So instead of making all those parameters, what we are doing, we are saying, hey, give me list of numbers. I don't care how many parameters you want. Just pass me any parameters. I'm going to accept everything, right? So let me show you that how it will work now. So you see, this add number is not complaining. So now let's say there's a requirement to add 4 more numbers. So I don't need to pass now any additional argument. Instead, what I will do, I will just pass those values now. So 20, 40, see, it is not complaining, right? So this is how we can use the params. So let's go ahead and run now. So let's see if it is giving the same output or not. Yup, it is giving 91, the total of these numbers, right? So this is how you can implement the params. Perfect. So if you look at this, what we are doing, we are not asking for any hard-coded number of parameters. We are saying just one parameter, that is integer, and that should be array, right? And now when you say, hey, this is my parameter argument, that means the caller method, in this case this main is a caller method, so it can pass any number of argument to that method because it is params, right? So things that you need to keep in mind when you are working with params, that it only work with array. So if you try to remove this array, it will start complaining. So let's see if it complains here or not. So yep, see, it start complaining. So it says parameter must be a single dimensional array, right? So you have to do that single dimensional array. You have to do this syntax like integer and then array. Next is, it can work with any type, not just integer, it can work with object, string, or any other thing, right? This is the one thing that you need to keep in mind. Okay, so now mostly I've heard one question, and what is that? This is that, you know, people says, hey, even if I don't pass params, right, my method will still work in the for loop. You can still make a loop because it is array, right? Then why the hell you need to pass params? The answer is very simple. If you notice now, my program will start complaining. So if it is not a params type argument, you have to declare here as array. You have to pass that value in array. But if it is params here, then you can pass n number of argument. So that is the answer, and that is the difference with array and params array. One more interesting thing about params that you need to keep in mind, that is that after you declare params, so let me undo that, this params, you can't pass any additional argument. Let me try to pass string and say this is my test argument. See, it will start complaining. And what is the error? Parameter must be the last parameter in a formal parameter list. That means it should be your last parameter, this type of argument. So what do you have to do? If you have such requirement where you have to, you know, pass other parameters along with params, so you have to pass over here before params. So let's do this. This is the way you can pass second argument along with params, right? So these are the things that you need to keep in mind, and I'm damn sure you're not going to forget this concept. After this, you will jump into your application, and for your future applications also, you will identify the places, the method where you need to pass params and where you need to pass different arguments. I hope you learned something interesting. So stay tuned, subscribe to the channel if you are new, so we can keep learning. Tata, bye bye.